Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Very happy to have this conversation. As you know, the reboot of The Little Mermaid is out. And while a lot of the conversation, a lot of the narrative has been around representation and casting of the titular character, we have a young lady from Trinidad and Tobago who is part of the cast. And we are joined by actor, director Martina Laird for a conversation right now. How are you doing, ma'am? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, DK. It's lovely to be here in Trinidad.
The pleasure is ours. But I know many times people think that people just emerge fully formed, or some people may say, just wash your foot and come. But before Lashana, before The Little Mermaid, give us some of those stops along the way. You may want to call the school, or you may not want to call the secondary school. I know that's polarizing sometimes to people, but give us a little idea of your journey. Thanks.
Okay, well, obviously I grew up in Trinidad, in Port of Spain. I went to school. I'm not sure what about the calling the name of the school, but I went to Bishop's. Which is I want to add at this point also that when I was at Bishop's, we had and I think we still have a wonderful choir. And our choir would sing along with the choir from St. Mary's, from CIC, which is down the road. And Cyprian Decoto, who made and designed the dress that I wore for the premiere here, he was my contemporary at CIC. So, my whole point was I wanted to get the team on board. I wanted to truly represent as much as I could. And Cyprian lives here in London. So yeah. And okay, so how did I get here? I always give tribute and thanks to Tony Hall and to Noble Douglas, who founded the Lilliput Children's Theatre Company, which was at the time, I believe, called Rounders. And I would go and do classes with them, dance and drama classes. And that really is my origin story and holds me still to this day. Absolutely holds me with a sense of who I am, because they were so much about local culture, about empowerment, about giving voices to young people. And just some of the top training you could hope for anywhere. So yeah.
And one of the things, and thank you for that, but you say Tony Hall, and my pause raise again, because you're not the only castmate who cites Tony as a reference point, because the individual who would have played Sebastian said that he also credits Tony Hall for helping him explore the possibilities. And I think that's a big part of that Juve experience, exploring the possibilities, knowing that what you know is not the full gamut, not the full range of experience. So empowering individuals to say, well, I know there can be more, and let me see what there is. And that just talk to me about that a little bit, thanks.
You know so much about the Tony Hall process.
So it's only you could deal with Tony Hall?
Of course, the shame is that I did not hear David Diggs' interview where he mentioned Tony Hall until after I'd met him, until after the premiere. And I so wish I had, because I would have loved to have touched base with him and say, hey, he's an inspiration to us both. Yeah, and Tony's process, I mean, I was a very early on participant in what was Rounders and is now Lilliput. So I think Tony would have been formulating his approaches, but his approaches, even with us as children, I mean, I was there with Anna Walcott and a whole bunch of other people. We were all kind of the same age. even then, his approach was very spiritual in a way, in the sense that I realized in adult life that the things that he would make us do kind of like meditation. They're kind of like a total body awareness. And that's how we would start our sessions, kind of tuning in with your body. Similarly, Noble, as you know, is just a grande dame. She's a doyenne. She's that she put movement into your body as an instinct, so that as an actor, one is able to use the whole body and the whole voice and the whole thought process and all of that because of this beautiful combination of Tony and Noble.
And it makes you wonder, well, how it is you define voice, because voice is however you express yourself. But I want you to, in terms of those levels of expression, I want you to make some distinctions for me, please, between TV, theater, film.
Yeah, there is a distinction, and voice and body are different if we're going to go into the technical side, acting wise. I think that what I would say is that in theater, you need to think with your body, and the whole expression comes with the body. You're being viewed potentially by people who are, many, many seats back. With something like film and working on The Little Mermaid, you realize that you're on a screen the size of a wall or a building, and your thinking has to be done interiorly. And those are the big differences. Other than that, truth is truth. And you want to always be representing your truthful view of the world, of the character, of the story that you're trying to tell.
And if we had to break this conversation down to an academic discourse, I think one of the key words would be representation. And because we've used this a few times, but the significance of being cast in Little Mermaid is something that you've spoken about. Share some of those thoughts with us, Dike.
Well, what is important for me is that Rob Marshall, the director, who I think is a genius, and when I watched him directing, I would sometimes just be near set, even when it wasn't my scene, just to see how he works. And he's got this gentle, complete control of everything that is going on. So when we talked, and ironically, our first conversation was on Zoom, like me and you now, and it was a relief to me that he was open to my using a version of my own accent. Because a lot of time that's not the case. And a lot of time that people travel to work on films, whether it's in the States or here, you're expected to be absorbed into the culture of the film and where it originates. And so the fact that he was totally for Lashana, my character, being from Trinidad or having a Trinidadian accent at the very least, it's actually a delight, because there's so many times that one is called on to suppress and not use all that you are, and to use all that you are as a Trinidadian actress is wonderful.
And on that note, we take a short break. We are speaking with Martina Laird. We return with more. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're having a conversation with thespian Martina Laird. The Little Mermaid is out. And one of the things that you just spoke about is the director's manner, the way that he would do things on stage, getting things across his gentle way. You're also a director. Are there any things that you have seen that you said, I'm going to put that in my toolkit. I think I can take that. Or I see how he dealt with that, which may have been something that I looked at a little earlier.
Absolutely. And not just as a director myself, but also as an actor, because we work with so many different people, and the tone is always set by whoever's at the top, which is, of course, the director when it comes to being on set. And what I saw with Rob, because to me, I was looking at him, he has multiple screens in front of him, as well as talking directly to everybody who's on set. He knows the name of everybody who's on set, all the crew, all the cast. He's coming up to you and letting you know what's going on and what is going to happen, which is actually, might sound like little, but it's an immense thing for me, and I'm sure for many other actors, to know where you're going and not to just kind of be hanging there in this kind of insecure limbo. He talks softly, he informs you, he answers questions, and at the same time, he is surrounded by this complete arsenal of screens from all the shots that are going on that day, because it's not just his set that he's keeping a view of. And I looked at this, and it was like the size of a NASA project or something. It's like he was launching a spaceship. And I just thought, if this man can be this decent and open and communicative whilst he is doing this, then this sets the bar. This completely sets the bar. And I just think he's a genius as well. He had the whole thing orchestrated in his head. He knew what you see on the screen was in his head as he directed us, and he knew exactly what he was going for.
And you speak about the set being almost as though it's the size of a NASA project. And some people may think that it was, even if you're thinking about 1990, while the coup was going on and the Little Mermaid playing on repeat in Trinidad and Tobago. There are many people who were saying, okay, well, let's see what this version is going to be like, and whether or not it's going to take the original forward, or you're going to crush some of the memories I have of it. And this is not just Trinidad and Tobago, but it's a global something. And being able to have that trust in you, the belief in the product that's coming out, to allow Lashana to have that Trinbagonian accent, brings to the fore the question of acting roots, in terms of like the pathways that you've gotten to the position that you are, roots as in where you're originally from, and some of the challenges you find within that conversation, because there's a conversation now, all these UK actors, they come in and take in the US actors' livelihood. And what is your position in that entire conversation, knowing that you would have even started from within the Caribbean? You own that Trinbagonian accent because you come by it honestly. So where are you? What's your position inside of this whole narrative?
Oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot there. I got to say about the Trinbagonian thing, and about how Rob was embracing not only of the accent, but of the language. But he got kind of edited himself, because, for instance, there's a scene where Lashana is taking Ariel, Halle Bailey, upstairs, and she's trying to comfort her. And we were improvising. And I was like, okay, come on, Dudu, let's go upstairs. And Rob was like, Dudu? Now, what's that? And I explained to him what Dudu means. And he was so there for it. And then these notes came back going, no, she can't say Dudu.
I can see people not thinking about French, but thinking about a poop emoticon. Yeah.
So he was up for a lot of things. Authentically, authenticity wise, I come from Trinidad. I come from a generation, I grew up watching Derek Walcott plays at the Little Carib Theatre, which was founded by by Beryl McBurney. My father, Colin Laird, was involved in the creation of the first space that they worked in. My mother, Jeanette, worked on the door selling tickets. My brother and brother-in-law created Banyan, where I got my first kind of TV experiences. But you're also surrounded by amazing poets, artists, carnivalists, bacchanalists, calypsonians, soca. Listen, it's like Trinidad just is culture. Our food is culture. How we move our bodies is culture. It's history. It's stories, right? There's the chance to bring that to performance or to the world is important. Now, you asked me about the issue of British actors and American actors. And the outcry has been largely by Black American actors. Not because there's obviously a lot of white British actors that work quite happily in America. Now, I'm going to be controversial because I'm never not. On both sides. I totally understand on one point the Black American point of view of their heroes needing to be played by people who have their lived experience. I think if we had in the Caribbean a story of Uriah Buzz Butler or Eric Williams or Morris Bishop or something, and those characters were portrayed by actors that were not of a sympathetic origin, we would have a problem with that. Okay, so I totally understand that. On the other level, as all actors know, and certainly Black actors know, that America is the Mecca when it comes to that. And we are in the rest of the world receivers of that culture, of those ambitions, of those formats, everything. So to go and participate is obviously what we are going to all want to aim towards. And I think Black Americans maybe don't realize how for the rest of the world, they also have a dominance. Because of their own circumstance within their country, maybe it's not so clear how we in the rest of the world go, we want to be there.
And
whether that's right or wrong.
Definitely. And you said you're never not controversial. I want to take the last 2 minutes that we have to have you explain a little bit, expound on what seems to be the importance to you of using your platform for activism, for letting people know that these things are going on and we should be aware of it as a collective a little more. Okay. Two things here on an idea of activism as an actor. I'll come first of all to what I've already mentioned, that I grew up in a 1970s, 1980s Trinidad, okay? There is no separation then of art and activism. The very act of Beryl bringing the steel bands inside to inside audiences is both art and activism. The very act of a television channel
wanting to transmit local content in the face of foreign dominance culturally is activism. It is also art, and it is also self-celebration, right? So the very act of self-celebration, self-love, and appreciation becomes activism. So I don't see how growing up under that, under Derek Walcott defining a Caribbean-ness, Vidya Naipaul, Lovelace, etc. I mean, I'm not even going to sit here and call out names, right? I don't see, and I'm sorry that they've been mainly male. I know we got Into Springer was one of the first actresses that I saw do Macbeth, and I was like, that I want to do that. What she's doing there, that's what I want to do. So the very act of self-expression is an activism, and there is no way that I can separate that over here. There's no way that the most important thing I think about acting is to look at, reflect, and communicate something essential about life. There's no way that that doesn't carry a force with it of some kind.
And with that, we want to thank you for representing us well by being your best self, Martina Laird. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.